Growing up, I enjoyed spending time with my dad because he was the fun parent. Then I realized how much mom sacrificed for the family while dad just spent the whole day watching TV on his favorite couch. Throwaway because some cousins know my main. I, 18 male, am an only child. I live with my mom full-time, my parents are divorced. Some quick context, during my entire life, my mom always picked up after me and my dad. They both worked full-time, but my mom handled breakfast, lunch, dinner, groceries, cleaning, laundry. What did my dad do? Mow the lawn, shovel snow, fix things like the sink if it ever broke. When I was younger, I always loved my dad because he would do fun things with me. Take me to sports games, play with me in the yard sometimes, buy me McDonald's or ice cream. He was the fun parent, and my mom was the caring one. She always made me food, helped me in school, packed my bags, comforted me when I was sad, and took care of me when I was sick. When I got older, I started to realize more and more how much my mom did while my dad would sit on the couch and watch TV or stuff like that. My mom asked me when I was quite young to help her out with cleaning, etc., and I remember I would get mad at me when she asked. I didn't want to clean, who does? But one day after she had gotten annoyed, I didn't even pick up after myself. I yelled at her to leave me alone. I was probably like 12, and that day I heard her cry in the bathroom afterwards. When I realized I made her cry, it clicked in my head that she was doing everything for us, and Dad did barely anything. And I did absolutely nothing at all. It felt like I grew up super quickly over the course of a week, and I started helping my mom a lot more. It became a bonding thing for us, talking and helping each other out with cleaning and groceries, etc. My dad was still like the fun parent who would take me to games and all that, but I grew more and more annoyed that he didn't help out at all. I think when I was like 14, I once said to his face that he never helps out around the house, and he got furious with me, yelled in my face, and sent me to my room. My mom comforted me and told me to just let him be you, and I got this alone anyway. The few times he was dragged into helping, he would always make a mess somehow, and it would end in an argument with him and mom. I've realized now, he most likely did a bad job on purpose, so we wouldn't ask him for help. When I was 15, mom found out that dad cheated. He had been for like a year. They had the biggest fight ever, and my dad left us that night to live with his mistress and her daughter from a previous marriage. He came a few days after and picked most of his stuff up. I don't remember much how the divorce went other than my mom being a wreck. When it was finalized, she honestly broke down even more. I fed her, helped her into the shower, held her at night. I've never seen her that bad, and if I didn't hate my dad for what he had done in general, I started absolutely despising him for what he did to mom. Family from mom's side would help us too, but it was mostly me since no one could really move in and stay with us full-time. I picked up a job at 16 to help at home. It took my mom maybe half a year to start going back to her old self. She grew up to be better, happier, and I had never seen her so full of life when she was with dad. A month or two after the divorce was over, my dad started pushing for me to live with him 50% of the time. I told him to disappear basically, but mom said I shouldn't shut him out completely. So I went to him every other weekend. He tried to be all nice to me, and so did his mistress, but I hated their guts. The mistress, let's call her Hannah, tried to be nice to me, but also bossed me around, and I basically ignored her. She has a daughter from a previous marriage who tried to bond with me, but I ignored her. Barely even a year after the divorce was over, Hannah got pregnant and they had another daughter. Dad and Hannah have tried to push for me to be a big brother for them, but I couldn't care about them less. Now I'm 18 and I gradually stopped going to my dad's. I barely ever stay a night, I just visit, and my dad keeps trying to blame my mom for it. Hannah gives me more and more attitude and tries to use her daughters to guilt me into staying over, saying, they miss their big brother, you're so selfish. We had a big confrontation when I visited last. I stayed for 20 minutes before Hannah started trying to lecture me, so I just started leaving. Dad blocked my way and told me I have to grow up and leave the past in the past. He said I can't be mad forever, and I'm acting as if I don't love him and we're all family. That just set me off. I started screaming at him that I haven't loved him in years. I told him that he was always a lazy piece of crap who acted more like a child than a husband to mom. She always cleaned up after him, cleaned the house, alone, washed his clothes, made him food, fetched him another beer, even though the kitchen was 5 steps away. But all that ever came out of his mouth was complaints and demands. I told him he took me out to do fun things, sure, but that's not all there is to be a dad. He was never there for me, helped me in school, drove me anywhere or picked me up, comforted me. And then he did the worst possible thing. After years of standing on my mother's back and using her, he went and slept with a random woman and absolutely broke my mother. I screamed about how a kid had to pick up the pieces of his own mother because his father was such a piece of crap and useless garbage. I felt nothing for him. In fact, I hated his guts still, and I hated his mistress too. I turned to Hannah and told her that she means nothing to me. She has no authority over me. I don't give a crap about her or her kids. I told them both. I wish nothing bad for their daughters, but Hannah is a horrible person for filling her kids' heads with lies about how I'm their brother when I've repeatedly told them I'm not. Then I looked my dad in the eyes and said, "My father passed away to me years ago, and that man wasn't even a good dad. You're just a stranger to me." I pushed my way past him and left. When I got home, I told my mom everything and cried. She hugged me and told me she understands my emotions but wishes I wasn't so aggressive for my own sake. My mom has never said a bad thing about my dad despite everything, and when I would curse him out, she always told me it wasn't worth it. My dad and his new family were silent for a few days, but then Hannah started bombarding me with texts about how I was a horrible son and how my dad hasn't stopped crying since. I know he always wanted a son and wanted a close bond, but he's failed me as a father and I don't care. But family from Hannah's side I've met like once or not at all have also started messaging me saying I was out of line and everyone makes mistakes. But I don't think it's a mistake. I genuinely think my dad's a piece of crap and I don't owe him anything. But I guess all the hate from so many people has me doubting myself. Maybe I should have just left without a word. So yeah, AITA. Update. Hi, my first post got removed because I tried to edit and update in the same post. But it became too long and was removed by Automod. I asked if they can restore it, but I don't know. For those who commented or just read my first post, I know it hasn't been long since I posted, but I quickly got so many NTA and people who agreed with me that I acted pretty fast. I wrote out a long text to my dad that looks like this. "Hey Dad, I know what I said yesterday was very harsh, but I'm not apologizing for it. Growing up, you made it clear what a partner and husband shouldn't be. Even though Mom and you worked the same hours, you were always entitled to your alone time and your rest while she was left to pick up after the whole family. I realized at a young age that Mom needed help, and every time I picked up your old socks or put your dishes away, I got more and more annoyed at what a lazy piece of crap you are. A 12-year-old did more housework than his father let that sink in. You went and did fun things with me, I acknowledge, and did appreciate that. But that's not all there is to being a parent. I needed you other times when I was sick, sad, stressed, needed help with homework, or even just talking to you. I know you always wanted a good father and son bond, but we never actually talked. Not small talk, proper conversations. I honestly feel like you don't even know who I truly am. But when I went to you with anything, you told me to go to Mom because you had a long day at work? I hope for your new daughter's sake that you start picking up your crap after yourself. I can't stand Hannah, but I somehow also hope she doesn't get stuck in the loop of scrubbing your back and holding your spoon when you eat, never allowed to ask for a favor and rest. You need to tell her to get her family to stop harassing me about this, or I'm blocking you all, you included. Hannah has no authority over me, and I have no respect for her because she slept with a married man. She also is not entitled to a relationship with me. I've always tried to be polite but not welcoming because I don't see her as anything other than your mistress. She needs to get that through her head. And like I said, I will never wish anything bad onto her daughters, but I am not their family. You filling their head with that bullcrap is only causing them harm. Get that through your head. If you're unhappy in your marriage, you either try to work it out, go to therapy, or split on whatever terms. You don't cheat on your partner like a scumbag. It doesn't matter how you felt for Hannah and Mom at the time. You should have split with Mom before pursuing Hannah. I'm 18 years old, and I even know that. If the texts don't stop today, I'm blocking every last one of you. I'm already blocking Hannah's family, but I'm keeping you and her unblocked for whatever reason. This is not me forgiving you. Don't think we can work through this, because we can't. I'm not visiting you for a while, and if I ever want to again, it will be on my terms. This is not up for negotiation. And again, if you try to pressure me or guilt trip me, I will literally just never speak to you again. I hope you go to therapy and get fully torn down so you can build yourself up to be someone worthy of respect. Because right now you're not. Now leave me alone. Now, after like 3 or 4 hours, Dad responded, "I understand," and nothing else. The random texts have stopped. I don't know. I sort of feel free but also sad. I'm not burning the bridge fully, but I'm also done with their bull crap. So yeah, that's where I stand right now. Thanks for listening. Edit. Some people questioned if I'm really 18 LOL, and I get that. It's not like I wrote this text to my dad out in 10 min and sent it. I spent an hour writing it, and my mom helped read it and let me know if it was good. I've always liked books and reading as a kid. My mom never talked to me, so I started speaking proper sentences really early. She always brags about that LOL. Anyway, thank you. This is the last from me. Have a nice life. Story 2. My wife thinks I couldn't be attracted to her, and our therapist agreed. Background. Married a little over 2 years after dating a very short time, around 3 months. We met at a work event, and I was immediately smitten with my wife. It was like something out of a movie. I saw her chatting with a group of people, and in my head I heard, "Oh, there she is." She was newly divorced and took some convincing on my part, but we have been together from that night on and get along extremely well. Now, for clarity, I am extremely attracted to my wife. We may just still be in the honeymoon stage, but I've never felt this way about another woman. And because it pertains to the conversation we had today with her therapist, I would say the majority of the population would find her attractive and not in a niche way. She is objectively attractive. I feel we are evenly matched in looks. Very few people have noticed the slight age difference. She, however, wins in personality, outgoing and charming, and she makes about 3x as much money as I do. A couple months ago, we ran into an ex of mine, and by ex, we literally dated for maybe a month and never exclusive. After my wife mentioned how different they were, age, hair color, body type, etc., and it ended in a pretty heated argument. We have had 3 core conversations since, all of which I was trying to convince my wife I'm not going to leave her for a woman I dated years ago. Last week, she asked if I would go to her therapist with her today, and I agreed. She has been seeing her for about 8 years for anxiety and a bout of depression that happened before we met. Today started normal enough, and I had figured why we were there, so I just jumped into it thinking the therapist would be on my side and would help me calm my wife's fears. That's not what happened. The therapist did very little talking, although their long silences and knowing glances started to piss me off right away. The thing that stood out to me the most was how my wife reiterated how she doesn't see how I would be attracted to her, and the therapist didn't even disagree. Like, I felt like a crazy person. My wife is beautiful, charming, funny. It feels like I wished her into existence. She brought up the age difference, 7 years my looks, and how quickly I wanted to get married, as all reasons for why I am basically a gold digger. First off, we both wanted to get married quickly, I asked, and figured she would want a long engagement, but she didn't. So we got married. Second, I never even discussed money with her until after we were married, and never dreamed she made so much more than I do. She said she doesn't think I'm after her money, but enjoys the lifestyle while I'm with her, and it makes it easier to pretend I'm attracted to her. Sorry, more attracted to her like I play it up. I'm completely blindsided and don't really want to talk to my family or friends. It's humiliating being accused of marrying someone for a lifestyle. For clarity, I moved into her house. I rented out my old home, but that income just covers the mortgage and the company that manages it. All our money goes into a joint checking with automatic transfers into savings, etc. Our bills are paid from that account. I looked at our bank account and I spend significantly less than she does each month on average. After leaving, I'm in a complete panic that she is going to leave me, even though I feel humiliated and love her so much. I immediately wanted to offer to sign a prenup or separate bank accounts or both, but I just froze. My wife seems so sad and I'm so frustrated I didn't even do anything wrong. The women I've dated in my past don't have a similar type, and to be honest, I didn't really date, more like hook up for a few months, then move on. I love my wife. She is the first woman I have ever met that I have had a real partnership with, like we were a team, and now that's all gone. I don't feel like I have the strength to leave her. It scares me that I can't even envision a scenario where I would leave. She is my most favorite person. How do I rebuild trust when I don't feel I ever did anything to lose it? Edit. My wife didn't come home last night, but I texted her this morning, first apologizing for leaving the session and then asking her to come home so we could formulate a plan. No word back yet, but I doubt she will check her phone before lunch if she went to work. Thanks for letting me vent. I've already asked my insurance company to send a list of counselors for me to call later today. Hopefully, I will find a good fit, as I don't even know how to go about picking one. Edit 2. I need a referral from my general doctor before insurance will cover a therapist or psychologist. I have an emergency phone appointment Monday and will be seeing someone by myself. My wife didn't return my text but did come home about an hour later. Honestly, I cried for the first time in a long time, but was able to get across how seriously I take her concerns. I haven't mentioned anything about her therapist or my feelings about things, just apologized and asked for another chance to hear her out completely. She said she was really drained and is taking a nap. I don't think she made it into work, and I'm actually looking forward to having the weekend to talk. I'm not going to ask for couples counseling until I talk to my own therapist. This is probably it unless I mess things up this weekend. Thanks for letting me type out my feelings and being honest. Even the hard comments were helpful. Update. Despite my hyperbole title, I received a lot of feedback on my last post and thought I would thank everyone again and do an update. Talk with wife. During last weekend, I was made aware of a lot of things I was doing to compound my wife's fear of being abandoned, used. The major thing that stuck out to me was my immaturity and unwillingness to discuss anything serious. When my wife would bring up her ex-husband's finances in particular, I would A, make a joke, or B, try and end the conversation as soon as possible. I'm not sure why it just made me uncomfortable and didn't see the value of discussing things that weren't a major problem to me. I was happy and my needs were being met, so I assumed hers were too. It was my most damaging mistake. Another misunderstanding happened with my ex. In my mind, it was a quick 5-minute conversation. To my wife, it was much more. So about 6 months ago, I injured my knee running. I had been up to that point a pretty serious low-mileage runner, 5 to 10 miles 3 times a week. After the injury, my doctor suggested I try weightlifting, as I was worried about physical therapy not being enough. Well, I hired a personal trainer and have been a gym rat ever since. It's become a serious hobby that I apparently obsessively talk about. I have invited my wife, who occasionally does yoga, several times, and even talked about getting her a membership for Christmas, even though she showed no interest. So when we ran into my ex and I noticed she looked significantly different. She put on about 10 lbs of muscle. I complimented her, and we talked about weightlifting for a few minutes while my wife stood to the side. My ex told me to add her on Instagram, which, while I did look her up to add her page was mostly advertising supplements, so I didn't end up doing it. My wife took this chance to run in as proof that I was unhappy with the way she looked and was trying to get her to change. Add in some harsh comments from one of our coworkers about our relationship, her sister pushing for a prenup, and my lack of communication. Everything came to a head these last few months. My therapist. The most helpful advice was to get my own personal therapist. I kind of just picked one from a list my provider emailed me, but it seems to be going well. A lot of things were discussed, but my major takeaway was that it isn't my job to calm my wife's fears completely. Listening and being reassuring is healthy, but trying to make everything better won't help either of us. My therapist said, even if I tried, my wife's own voice in her head runs 24/7 and I could never keep up. This was hard to hear, as I have definitely made some major mistakes, but besides acknowledging them and doing better, everything else is out of my control. She recommended a book called The Happiness Trap that I haven't ordered yet, but she said it would help me understand what it's like to have anxiety and may explain, not excuse, some of my wife's behavior. My therapist also said I should look into my wife's therapist, as she sounds unlicensed, and if I felt comfortable, she could put in a complaint on my behalf. I will probably do this, but I'm letting things settle. So after probably the worst 2 days of my life, things seem to be better. I haven't brought up a prenup because she seemed offended when my wife told me her sister brought one up as a solution. I did offer separate bank accounts, but she said no, and only requested that we update her will and create one for me, as I didn't even have one. I thought it would be weird, but we both put each other as beneficiaries along with her 2 children if we both passed away. We only filled out the paperwork and still have to turn it in to her lawyer, but it's made a difference, but I'm not sure why. I did delete my Facebook. I haven't used it for years, but when I went on, it was very single, me, lots of old girlfriends, holidays, etc., and I never even updated that I was married. I had a notification from my wife when she tried years ago, but it just sat there. My wife is still fairly active on Facebook, and I could see how that would feel awful even though she never mentioned it. My last update was a picture of a woman and I that I randomly met in Hawaii during a vacation. I titled it, "Two Blondes with Hearts." Like, my whole page was embarrassing. I can't imagine what her family or friends thought when they found me. I was completely public and kind of a jerk there. I still feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, but honestly, there is no other person I would ever want to try this hard for. And if I'm becoming a better person for trying it, will be worth it no matter the outcome. Things are still really shaky, and she leaves immediately after Christmas for work. This whole episode has kicked on my anxiety, but I'm hopeful.